Hello, my lovelies. It is time for another round of Yeet or Keep, so stay tuned. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. Yeet or Keep is sort of a try a chapter kind of thing to help me cull through my books a bit more and figure out which ones that I'm really interested in continuing to read and just not as interested, and kind of help me get through getting rid of some books. So I picked 5 books from my These Books Will Self-Destruct shelf to help me decide if I want to even bother trying with them or not. So the books I have here, I have Pumpkin Picking with Murder, an Otter Lake Mystery by Oralee Wallace. Briar and Rose and Jack by Catherine Coville. Anastasia and Her Sisters by Carolyn Meyer. Visions by Lisa McMahon. Chunker. And Bloodleaf by Crystal Smith. All very, very different books. And these are some of the last ones that I need to make decisions on for my These Books Will Self-Destruct. So next time I'll very likely be doing some other books from other shelves. But that's what we're going to do this time around. So I think for my first one, I'm going to try Pumpkin Picking with Murder. So I'll come back once I have gotten a little bit of this read. So I just realized I should probably tell you what this book's supposed to be about before I get started. This says, when murder strikes in the tunnel of love, Erica Bloom has to rock the boat to catch a killer. For a small town like Otter Lake, New Hampshire, the annual fall festival is a big deal. A Ferris wheel, corn maze, caramel apples, and pumpkin pies, even a tunnel of love. Back in her hometown, Erica Bloom is trying to enjoy herself, which includes getting better acquainted with Sheriff Grady Forrester. But when a swan boat sails out of the heart-shaped exit of the tunnel with a dead man slumped over a wing, her own romance will have to take a back seat. Speaking of love affairs, the other passenger in the boat, and only witness to the elderly Mr. Masterson's swan song, is not his wife. It's Erica's beloved and feisty Aunt Tweety, who quickly becomes the prime suspect. Vowing to clear Tweety, Erica teams up with her sassy BFF and self-appointed security expert Freddie Wynn to solve the murder, despite the objections of Grady, who's convinced the amateurs are going overboard in their investigation. And he just might be right, but as Erica and Freddie start to dredge up long-kept small-town secrets, will they be heading straight into troubled waters? It sounds very cute and very, very cozy. I feel like this is one that I would enjoy. So let me get started. Let's see how long the first chapter is. So the first chapter is 13 pages. And if that's not enough, I may go through chapter 2, which takes me to page 20. So I'll be back. So I read the first chapter, and I thought this was going to be an easy keep. But for one, I found out that this is actually the second book in the Otter Lake Mystery series. And I'm pretty sure they could be read as standalones. But this does a lot of referring to things that happened the last time she visited. And I don't know, I'm just not really feeling it. So this one's going to be a yeet. So that was easy. I need to keep an eye on the time because I do have an appointment I have to go to at some point, probably in the middle of filming this. So next up, we're going to do Briar and Rose and Jack. This one says, an evil giant, a secret curse, 3 brave friends determined to save their kingdom. Lady Briar is scorned for her appearance. Princess Rose is adored for her looks. Unbeknownst to them, one or both may bear a curse that only true love can break. But the girls have little time for curses anyway. Along with their friend Jack, they are busy plotting the downfall of the evil giant who plagues their kingdom. But how can children succeed when the adults are afraid to even try? And what if the curse manifests? Whose love could be true enough to save the day? Sumptuous storytelling combines Sleeping Beauty with Jack and the Beanstalk and a magical exploration of prejudice, justice, and the meaning of true love. And I do believe this is middle grade. I think this is going to be cute, and I love retelling, so I'm excited to get started in this one. Oh, and let me see. How long is chapter 1? So there's a prologue. It's a long prologue. I might just read the prologue. The prologue is 22 pages. I don't know, because it says after that, part 1, 9 years later. So maybe I will need to read chapter 1. Let's see how far that goes. Okay, that goes to page 47. So I'm going to be reading a little chunk here. So I'll be back. Okay, right off the bat, this says like ages 10 to 12, grades 5 to 7. And I just read the first page, and I feel like there's vocabulary in here that those kids would not know. Like one word, I actually had to look up myself because I didn't know what it was. Sibilant. Apparently, that is characterized by the hissing sound. And then diminutive. I don't know that 10 to 12-year-olds would know what those things are. I don't know how I feel about that at this point. Okay, it's much later, and I was trying to give this a fair chance getting through the prologue as well as the first chapter, but I'm really not liking this. It's the writing, it's the vocabulary, and it's just the book in general. Yeah, I don't like it. So the prologue is essentially like Sleeping Beauty. The king and queen are having a baby, and the queen actually is having twins, Briar and Rose. And the first one that comes out is Briar, and she's deformed, like a slooping eye. What did it say? Sagging eye, protruding brow, and coarse asymmetrical features. And then the second daughter is born, Rose, and she's beautiful and she's perfection. And the king is just over the moon for Rose. And then he sees Briar, and he's thinking they've got to get rid of this thing. And the queen manages to keep Briar there, but they say that she was orphaned by this duke and duchess, and they're raising her, not that she is their daughter. And then there's like the different fairies, they come and they're bestowing wishes or whatever on the princess, and Hilda, who's like the midwife, she has kind of taken Briar under her wing to be her godmother and to be her nursemaid, because Hilda is also ugly, and she knows that it's going to be a hard life for Briar. And Hilda has some magic, and so while the fairies are trying to like give these wishes, she wants Briar to also get some of the things, and makes that so. Though then the final fairy, the gray one, comes in and does the whole spindle wheel thing. And it's not, because of a mix-up in the magic, it's not entirely sure which girl has this, or both girls have this, or what, but we'll find that out later. Or I won't find that out because I'm not going to keep reading. And then chapter 1 is 9 years later, and the girls are growing up together. They're being schooled together. The bishop, he is like, when it comes to his religion, he's very strong in it, but also he believes that any imperfections are like the devil's work. And Briar's like demon born or a curse or whatever. And he takes any opportunity he can to be cruel and mean, just petty to her. If she doesn't do something wrong, he finds a way to make it so she does something wrong and punishes her. And like, she's smart, and he's also like their teacher. And like, there's this part here that goes, Lady Briar, he suddenly thunders, hoping to startle her into a mistake. What is the sum of 32, 46, and 53? He speaks loudly and slowly to her as if she were dim-witted. Briar pauses for a moment without using her abacus, totals the figures in her head, and answers 131. And then it says, the old bully closes in and barks, stand up when you speak to me. Look at me. Are you sure? Think again. Are you asking me or telling me? He thrusts his face almost nose to nose with Briar's, and his eyes bore into hers. Hurry now. As so often happens, Briar begins to suffer agonies of self-doubt and decides she must be in the wrong. She's only 9 after all, and the bishop seems all-knowing. She tries again. 141, she squeaks. And then he turns his back and he works out the answer because he can't do it in his head. And he goes, aha, you're wrong. You'll stand in the corner with the donkey ears on. And then he proceeds to let everybody pick on her. And it's just really, I don't like that. I can't tell you now how many words I've had to look up. Like, I shouldn't have to look up any words for their definitions. And more than a handful. Definitely more than a handful I've had to look up because I didn't know what these words meant. Which is ridiculous because this is middle grade. I should know all the words. And there's so many in here that it doesn't make sense to me that this is for a kid. So that one is a yeet. The next one I'm going to tackle is Anastasia and Her Sisters by Carolyn Meyer. This says, 13-year-old Anastasia Romanova lives the extravagant life of the Russian princess that she is, dressing in beautiful clothes and traveling from palace to palace. As she grows up, she sees unrest in the streets of St. Petersburg and feels more and more unsafe. In 1917, when Anastasia is 17, her way of life is changed forever when her father, Tsar Nicholas II, is forced to abdicate the throne. Anastasia cannot understand how her father, who always seemed so kind, could have enemies. Suddenly, instead of living a fairy tale existence, Anastasia is trying not to show how afraid she is. Told in the voice of the strong and mysterious Anastasia Romanova, Carolyn Meyer's story of Russian Revolution unfolds through invented diary entries that capture the drama of this fascinating time in history. I love Anastasia, or at least the animated movie I did. I was obsessed with that movie. So I'm very excited to read this, and I hope I love it. Family Tree. This has not gone well though, because like the first two were ones that I was really looking forward to, and this is one of those that I was also looking forward to. So I'm nervous because I didn't really care for either of those. The next two are the ones that I'm kind of like, I have no clue, but I hope I like this one. Okay, thankfully this one is one that I am interested in. So the first chapter, the chapters. Well, I was gonna say the chapters aren't titled or numbered, but apparently they are because this one actually says chapter 1. So I guess this is a prologue. Maybe. I guess. This just says Siberia, April 1918. Chapter 1 is actually in 1911. But I read the prologue or whatever. And at this time, Anastasia's father, Tsar Nicholas, he's been taken to stand trial, and their mother went with them and her sister Marie went with them, but her brother, I forget what his name is, Alexei, he is not well, and so the rest of them stayed with Alexei, and they're waiting on word back from their mother. They don't know what's going on, and after 4 days they do get word back from her to discard of the medicines, which was like their code word for hiding the jewels, because they managed to get some jewels out of the palace, special things that meant things to them, or just as many jewels as they possibly could that didn't get discovered before. But I guess there's a potential that they're going to have their items searched again, and so they're all working to like stitch the jewels like covering diamonds with cloth to disguise them as buttons, stitching rubies and emeralds between the stays of our corsets, hiding ropes of pearls in the hems of our skirts, sewing gems into the flaps and pockets of Alexi's jacket, things like that. And then Olga, who's the oldest of the girls, Trina, one of her sisters, gives her this necklace, this pearl and diamond necklace, which was a gift from their mama and papa for her 16th birthday. And then they're remembering the ball that happened when Olga turned 16, and that was the rest of the prologue. Chapter 1's Olga's Secret, Levidia 1911, which is when that ball was. And yeah, I'm definitely intrigued, definitely interested. This one is a keep. Okay, next up is Visions by Lisa McMahon. This thing is a chunker. 759 pages. Let's see. This says, Jules lives with her family above the restaurant, which means she smells like pizza most of the time and drives their double meatball-shaped food truck to school. It's not a recipe for popularity, but she can handle that. What she can't handle is the vision. Over and over, Jules sees a careening truck hit a building and explode, and 9 body bags in the snow. She has no idea why this is happening to her or if she's going crazy. It hardly matters because the vision is everywhere. On billboards, television screens, windows, and she's the only one who can see it. But the horror doesn't stop there. This is just the beginning. Even if Jules can figure out how to stop this vision from occurring, what is she to do about a second vision or a third? And will she ever get an answer to why and how this is happening? So, I think, if I'm not wrong, I feel like I've heard that this edition or whatever, Visions, is actually like 3 books in one, but I could be wrong. I mean, that would make sense with how thick it is. Another thing I wanted to say about this book, because I thought about that I didn't say it when I was reading Anastasia, is there's giants like that come down from these cloud mountains, and they're like killing people. This is in the 9 Years Later thing, killing people, destroying harvests, all kinds of things, and they're taking the little bit of food that the kingdom has, and the king tries to like negotiate with the bully giant and is always unsuccessful. So he ends up giving the giant even more, and then ends up having to sell off some of the kingdom's land to goblins, and using the gold to like pay off, like to keep the treasury fully stocked. And where all the villagers and all the people in the kingdom are struggling and starving and things like that, the king is not. He's making sure that they have everything they need. Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm going to go and read this. Actually, before I get started, I just opened it up, and it says Visions includes Crash, Bang, and Gasp. Those are the 3 books. So this is 3 books in one. Okay. And it says here, Crash is on page 1, Bang starts on page 237, and Gasp on 483. Okay. Okay, so I read the first 4 chapters. These are really short chapters. So chapter 4 ends on page 23. Chapter 1 is literally just this like half page, and then this page, and that's it. So let's see. Chapter 1 is kind of first establishing like the first time that she had this vision. They went to a movie, and it was like right before the trailer started. She had this vision on the screen, and she was like, "Did you see that?" And they're like, "What?" And she's like, "That explosion." And they're like, "No." Chapter 2 kind of talks about the whole family pizza thing and just working for the family business, smelling like pizza, all that kind of stuff. And then at the very end of chapter 2, her and Trey are driving the meatball truck, food truck, to go and do what food trucks do, and they get stopped at a light right in front of the Anghetti Trattoria. the Anghetti restaurant. And they're like the rival family to Jules's family. And their son, Sawyer, and Jules were like, well, this is what it goes into in chapter 3. They were like BFFs instantly, starting from like first grade. And they continued being BFFs. And then one day, at a parent-teacher conference, the teacher was talking about, how Jules was, getting along well with others, and she made a great friend in Sawyer and Getty, and she was at that point forbidden to even talk to Sawyer or play dinosaurs and bears or something like that with him. But they continued being friends, and they continued talking and hanging out. And then the first day back after 7th grade, when she walked in, when she had a huge crush and still has a huge crush on Sawyer. The first day back from 7th grade, she sees him and she smiles and she waves and he smiles back, and his father sees and gives like this death glare to like her father, because her father's with her, and his father says something to him, and from that point forward they were no longer friends, and they haven't been friends since. And now she's like 17, I believe. Anyway, chapter 4, it kind of talks about their family a little bit and what's going on. So Trey is the older brother and Rowan is the younger sister. Rowan is 16 and Jules, I think, is 17. And they're all working in the family business. The mom's working. The dad should be working, but he's not. He seems to be struggling with some things, and it seems like he's struggling with depression. He's also a hoarder, and Jules overheard one day her mom and her aunt talking about her grandfather, and her grandfather unalived himself. And I think maybe they're kind of worried about the dad here and where his mental state is. And the mom seems to like always be super upbeat, super positive, maybe to balance that out or to keep him from going over the edge. I'm enjoying how it's written. It's a very quick, even though it's a thick book, it's a very quick read with the short chapters, and I think this one's a keep. Okay, next up is Bloodleaf. I do believe this is a fantasy. It says the strongest magic requires the greatest sacrifice. This says Princess Aurelia is a prisoner to her crown and the heir that nobody wants. Surrounded by spirits and banned from using her blood magic, Aurelia must flee her country after a devastating assassination attempt. Her only option for freedom lies with another warden, her betrothed Prince Valentine. To escape her fate, Aurelia disguises herself as a commoner in a new land and discovers a happiness her crown has never allowed. As she forges new bonds and perfects her magic, she begins to fall for a man who is forbidden to rule beside her. But the ghosts that haunt Aurelia refuse to abandon her, and she finds herself succumbing to their call as they expose a nefarious plot that only she can defeat. Will she be forced to choose between the weight of the crown and the freedom of her new life? Bloodleaf is a roar of a dark and luscious political fantasy that's layered with heady romance, magic, and ghostly intrigue. Through a deliciously creepy story that's told with a rock and roll edge that will haunt you late into the night, Crystal Smith carves a place for herself alongside Maggie Stiefvater and Sarah J. Maas. Okay. So this is what I'm going to go into next. This is actually the last book for this Yeet or Keep. The results are kind of surprising so far. Okay, so very intrigued by this one as well. So in our first chapter, because I read the first 2 chapters, which got me through page 23. In the first chapter, Aurelia is kind of like disguised so that she can be out in public. And she's witnessing a hanging, and she actually can see their ghosts and all of that. These 2 women are being hung for being tried and determined to be witches. And in chapter 2, Orly's with her mom, and Simon arrives, and Simon is from, I forget what the name of the country or whatever it is, that she's supposed to go marry the prince from there. And he made a deal with the queen to do a spell to help protect her. Because apparently, like, the tribunal, the ones that, like, sentence those women to hanging for being witches, they've had a thing for Orly for a while, and she's, you know, she looks different, and like the color of her eyes and things like that. And yes, she does do magic. And just like the people in general want Orly dead. And so they don't want this treaty to happen between these two countries. And for the past several centuries, anytime a king and queen has had a daughter, they've gotten rid of her and just kind of claimed that nothing ever happened. So nobody's had a princess for centuries. And this is the first time that the king and queen had a princess and kept her. And now this treaty has to happen, and this, you know, she has to go to this other country. The people don't want that. And so that's kind of why they're after her. And she's kind of seen as like a bad omen and all of this other stuff. So Simon's there, and they're trying to do this spell to bind her life to theirs to help protect her. And they run out of time. I'm super intrigued. This sounds very, very interesting. I can definitely see myself continuing this one. So this one is a keep. So my results from this round were very interesting compared to what I thought they would be. So these are the 3 that I thought I would end up keeping. But only one of these I'm keeping, and the other 2 are the ones I'm getting rid of. And then these are the 2 that I was thinking I'd be least interested in, but I'm definitely the most interested in this one and Anastasia, but I am interested in this one as well. So this was surprising. Have you read any of these books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!